Hey everyone, Cassius here, welcoming you back to the Shakespeare Minute. Today, I would like to take a look at one of Shakespeare's most awesomely evil villains, Iago. So let's jump right in. I'm going to be focusing on Iago's first two speeches when he's talking to Rodrigo about why he's so angry about life, the universe, and everything. Now this speech basically, which boils down to Othello picked Cassio over me, is revelatory and opens up basically the way that Iago is going to deal with these two men for the rest of the play. Here's a little bit before we jump right in.
By the faith of man, I know my price. I am worth no worse a place, but he, one Michael Cassio, a Florentine, must his lieutenant be. And I, of whom his eyes had seen the proof, God bless the mark, his Moor ship's ensign.
Oh, by heaven, I rather would have been his hangman.
Why, there's no remedy. 'Tis the curse of service.
Iago actually has, while not a very clear motivation, a motivation that I think is quite applicable to today. Unlike being a villain who wants a crown or something, he's a guy in a group who got passed over for a promotion by somebody younger than him who he, by definition, does not have the time to overtake in skill and experience any more than he already has, by virtue of him being 7 years older than the guy. So I think that this is actually pretty relatable, though of course where he goes with it is not at all relatable. Iago gets this sense in his head that Othello and Cassio, along with the universe at large, are basically conspiring against him. And this comes up many times throughout the rest of the play. When Iago ever speaks of one of the two of them, there is this sort of ingrained jealousy that keeps popping up and makes a lot of other moments where he's trying to act normal in public really kind of tense. When Iago thinks that, Othello can sleep with his wife, as he says he thinks is a possibility, or he thinks that Cassio of course could seduce Desdemona because he's, the golden boy, and, he has a beauty in his life that makes me ugly, which is literally what he says of Cassio in Act 5. He really believes that the universe is basically trying to shit on him in the form of these two men. And it makes a lot of the moments, as I said, where he is trying to be publicly normal very rough. When Cassio gets really drunk, for instance, at the party, he says, God will save some people and he won't save others, and then we get this interesting back and forth. After Cassio sobers up a little bit, after he gets fired right on the spot for his drunken antics, he says this. Now, basically what I'm trying to get at is that it's very easy to write off Iago as just some sort of sociopath, but it's pretty real that if you're an ambitious person in an organization and you keep getting passed over and you feel disenfranchised in any way, hearing somebody higher than you on the ladder say, "I despise myself," is probably going to piss you off. That is something that is going to get in your head and stay there. And I think that if you look at how things look from Iago's perspective, it's actually quite a dark picture, and it sort of explains why he then goes about being this horrifically dark, evil character, because all he can see is darkness and evil being thrown at him. That's not actually the case, but from his perspective, it absolutely is. Of course, Iago goes on this epic binge of personal and professional destruction once he gets what he ostensibly wants, which is Cassio's job, and of course most people would not do that. But this kind of setup where you have someone in power, Othello, and some person who's being picked over you, I think that actually is surprisingly modern, it's surprisingly accessible. It's a story that we keep seeing today in fiction and in original stories that have been coming out recently. I mean, off the top of my head, you know, you've got a lot of artistic stories like The Black Swan sort of follow this kind of structure. I think that anyone in the arts can probably relate to this sort of feeling, and probably anyone who's ever been in an organization where, you know, it's very political and advancement might not be as transparent as you want it to be, or even if it is, you know, you do your best and, you know, somebody else could still get it because the world is bigger than just you, and Iago can't really understand that. Most people sort of get some sense of that, even if they do get angry at being disenfranchised, but Iago's the one who takes that very natural, normal, everyday scenario and turns it into something pretty epically dark. But if you see these moments, especially for me, the times when Cassio is put in the situation of saying, oh, I'm so terrible, oh, woe is me, that is something that is just going to fan these flames and take the very bad situation going on in Iago's head and make it all the worse. So I will definitely be revisiting Iago and how he feels more about characters like Othello, his wife, and Desdemona, but for now this rounds out my look at Iago and particularly his opinion of Cassio's meteoric rise over him in the organization of the Venetian army. Till next time here on the Shakespeare Minute, I'm Cassius. Think of the world.